Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. Guess who's back? It's me, Nick.
Thank
Hello.
gosh. What a hell it is. Any week where you're not here and I'm like, oh God, I have to recap everything. Not only is it painful on my voice, but just how do you know these names? I'm like constantly running to people. I'm like, I don't know, fucking Byakuya's sister. You know the one. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I honestly, I feel like people underestimate how well we cover for each other in that kind of regard, in terms of keeping things, mentally mapped out. Like the way that we have series divided up does right now really does like help both of us because we just have things that we kind of have more comfortably fallen into remembering and having stuff all thought out about. There's only like a couple of series now that I recap where I feel like Quinn understands this better than I do. She
Yeah.
just does. Especially since you took over One Piece, because Jesus Christ.
I mean, we
But
we all do miss the moments of, and then a guy comes up and talks to them. And I'm like, Nick, don't you remember? That's Admiral Doghound or some shit
right.
like that.
So I mean, I know that there's kind of the thing where you like to say like, oh, Nick's like the intelligent one or whatever. It's like, no.
Yes.
I just know how to talk about things in a way that hides what I'm not competent in until you chip in and I go, oh yeah, that thing, yeah.
I'm a fool, so perhaps that's the ship we all sink on together. Um, I recently went to the optometrist, and
Okay.
people watching the stream might notice like, oh, Quinn's not wearing her glasses. I got contacts in. And that was one of the things I wanted to do. I was like, well, my glasses always reflect my screen when I'm recording weekly manga recap. So it's oftentimes very difficult to actually, like, people can't see my eyes and, like, the comedic effect of being like, whoa, yeah, dude, stuff like that, you know? Anyway, very important. So I get my contacts in. Anytime you, like, haven't had contacts in for a while, I don't know if this is all optometrists, but it's at least mine. They make you try them on. They're like, we want to see you put them in to make sure you know how to do this. So it takes me a little
Okay.
bit. It's like muscle memory. You have to like learn back again. But it took me like maybe like 4 or 5 minutes. It's fine. That's not the part of the story.
Okay.
I have contacts in, so I'm carrying my glasses around. I'm like, this is weird because like I don't. It's been almost a decade or so since I've worn contacts. So I'm like carrying my glasses around. So I go back for another eye exam just to be like, all right, well, let's see what the contacts in, what everything, is looking good. Finish that. And they're like, all right, let's get ready to go. Check out. And I'm like, Jesus. I didn't want to say anything, but my vision is fucking awful. Like, I am
Mm-hmm.
having a lot of trouble seeing. And I get up to the optometrist who's like moved on ahead of me. And she looks at me, she's like, why are you wearing your glasses too? I was like, oh, never mind. That explains it. I was like, I don't know. I feel like I have to say, it's like, I don't want to make this trip more of a thing, but I have to say it. Like, my vision is really bad right now. Like, I'm really having trouble seeing. No, I'm just an idiot. This is why I say you're the smart one of the show, Nick, because I'm an idiot.
I have literally never worn contacts through a combination of things. One is just that I'm very comfortable with wearing glasses all
Sure.
the time. Another is that my vision has not been bad enough to justify getting them. So I'm sure that like if I did that, I would do the same thing, where I would just like instinctively put them on at some point if I had them with me. But because I'm just very bad with my glasses in general. Like I constantly like will go and like see a friend or see my family and they'll be like, Nick, fucking look at your glasses. Let me clean them off. I don't take care of them.
Oh, the same glasses I always wear, like when I went to the optometrist, one of the things they tend to do is like clean your glasses. And she's like spraying it, wipes it off, and she looks at it and she's like, "No, I must have missed something." I'm like, "No, I sprayed water on them at some point and forgot, and now there's just kind of permanent water stains in there. I'm very bad at existing as a human being, and I apologize."
Oh, that's why we have other people in the world, though. You know, we cover for each other, and
that's
we
actually
help
like
each
a
other
sweet
out.
sentiment.
Yeah, it could apply to numerous series that we're going to talk about today in various ways. Hang on one second. Okay, I had to kill a bug. I'm back. All right, so
what I like is there wasn't like normally if someone goes off camera to kill a bug, there's like a sudden movement, like a karate strike kind of like smack. This really felt like you just found a bug and you were just like you just like pinched and killed it.
That's basically what I did. Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
Different ones require different action. Anyway, so
Nick is super effective against bug types,
but
ironically,
they're super effective against me.
They're also super effective against me, against you.
So we've got some odd chapters to talk about this week. First off,
424 is an even chapter.
If we need to do a callback to Prime Numbers Quinn, that's a good one right there.
There you go. Imagine how stupid that would have looked with glasses. You couldn't have seen my eyes and all the acting they just did.
It's My Hero Academia, chapter 424, which is our first chapter post the defeat of All for One and Shigaraki. The big battle is done. The heroes have emerged victorious. And surprisingly few heroes died during that final battle, if you look at the final death tally. But we get the chapter opening with news coverage of this event. Of course, it's happened. There, I think, is an indication that there was a bunch of like stormy weather that was blown off course because of the impact of the final blow in the battle. But the news reporter who basically broke and was like, okay, I can't talk about the battle in Japan, is back on the scene. And she's like, yeah, so sorry we were wrong about the stormy weather and stuff. And she says, the gusts that blew that day came in the wake of a great battle. Stay tuned for updates on what sort of effects we'll be seeing from that. And hey, there's little kids all happy. There's reconstruction happening. Salam, I think is his name, the Egyptian hero, is working with Cementos on like the reconstruction, and they're just like reconstructing buildings that were destroyed. It's only been a week since the final battle, but you know, superheroes exist, so they've been able to do a lot of reconstruction in that time, and also they've gotten support from other nations.
The U.S. helped, Nick.
Finally,
fictionally, we came to the support.
It's like when the U.S. showed up for the end of World War II. It's like, we did it. We won together. Us, all of us. Yeah.
Yep. That's how I have eternalized it.
And so there's a whole bunch of reconstruction that's happening, but there are some things that aren't just going to be super fixed. For example, Dr. Yoshi is telling Bakugo's family that his arms are basically never going to be fully healed because of the damage.
It's the one arm, right? The right arm.
His right arm, which did go through a lot. It had, spines go through it and stuff. And he's been through surgery at this point now. And he's like, look, there's a lot of bone segments that we had to join and set. And yes, we can put him through rehabilitation, but I can't make any guarantees that it'll work. He should probably consider actually just getting a prosthesis like Mirko does. And we see actually like the conversation that Mirko had prior to that, which was just like, just chop it off. It's fine.
Rehab. Fuck it. Just cut it off.
I gotta fight now.
Like, wait a minute. I feel like you still have to do rehab to get adjustments to the prostate. Whatever. You're fine, Mirko. Go off, Queen.
And Bakugo says basically the same attitude, but the opposite. Nah, forget the prosthetic. I want to be a hero again. My quirk comes through my palms, so yeah, I'll do the rehab. And he also says, plus he never even had one, so bring it on, bring on the pain and the rehab. And the doctor's like, you're gonna do low impact, low effort stuff first, so calm
Yeah,
down.
you're not doing anything crazy for a while, champ. Your heart nearly exploded. Well, it did explode. You got it
had to be
fixed.
stitched back together. So it's like, look, you've gotten this second chance at life. You need to fucking rest. It's bed rest for you for a little while, okay? We cut over to a different room where All Might and Deku are in beds right next to each other, and because apparently Sakochi, did him a favor, it's like, okay, let's have the master and apprentice be together. They are wearing all the bandages. That there is so much One Piece, bandage up everything that was hurt in this chapter. Deku's got a bunch of stuff all around his head and his eye, and All Might's limbs are all set. So they went through a lot, of course. So they kind of are checking in on each other. All Might says they said they'd never had to use quite so many bolts to cobble someone back together. So he's great. And Deku says he's getting some feeling in his arms now. But now he says that he's upset because he couldn't save Tenko. That was the thing that he wanted to do. He wanted to save the boy that Shigaraki once was. And he was able to reach him. He was able to reach through that hardened, calloused heart. He shattered all that hatred. But despite that, he chose to keep on being a villain. And then, as we saw in that conversation. So they reached clearly some manner of understanding. But he was like, nah, I'm a villain. I'm still a bad guy. So All Might says, like, okay, well, speaking as someone who went through a near-death experience, but just one, it feels like you've been through a lot. He says, I want you to ask yourself, what was the look on his face at the end? And so Deku recalls back to that conversation where Shigaraki actually gave him some encouragement and said, hey, make sure you do your best, while giving them this kind of, I guess you could call it a wry grin, but it was not a look of hatred.
Yeah, he was trying to have a little bit of a moment. He was trying to be like, I'm an anti-villain now, maybe.
Yeah. Remember me like this because I didn't look very flattering in most other memories you have of me.
Yeah, you can still husbando this in a video game. You could dress this up a little bit. You could put a suit on this. The hand stuff, I don't know. It's you gotta work over it.
And All Might says, like, look, if he didn't look like that little crying kid, then you did save him, or at least you saved his soul. And you did your duty to One for All. You passed it on, right? I felt it happening. But Deku indicates he can still feel the ember within him. But that's kind of when they get interrupted, because Bakugo bursts in. And even though his parents are there being like, no! You're supposed to lie down! Stop it! As they should be. Amazingly, no staff have shown up yet, because it doesn't feel like Bakugo should be moving very fast right now.
I think the implication is supposed to be so many people are fucked up that the staff's just like, whatever, dog. Like, we told you, we can't stop you at this point. We don't have that manpower anymore.
And Bakugo has overheard this last comment that Deku made, which is that he's only got the ember of One for All, which means that he's now quirkless, which Bakugo's clearly upset and affected by this. And Deku's, he's positive, and he's like, hey, I never had a quirk to begin with, and my time of it gave me a glimpse of the most amazing dream. And Bakugo looks at Deku. He remembers when he was so pissed off at him for suddenly developing this quirk, how incredibly angry and hurtful he was. And then when Deku said, I'm going to rise even higher than that, I've got to keep growing. And Bakugo saying, hey, don't let me just surpass you in the last battle. And all of a sudden he has. And of course, this is in a way that he didn't want to happen. So he just spontaneously starts crying. He's still in shock and the tears start flowing. which Deku refers to as Wa-chan, which is a great quip, like if you want to insult somebody, but a bit of a weird reaction to have. But Baku's like, I just kind of figured we'd be competing against each other from this point on. He wanted them to be friendly rivals after this part, and that's not going to happen. It seems
it's really rough because you do see just how stressed sad he is, that he's like, I thought I had a rival to keep chasing. Because he even kind of says, he's like, I thought I'd be on your heels for the rest of my life. Yeah. Like he's even like subconsciously now putting Deku forward. Like, I'll be the one chasing you. And it's over. Like, it's just kind of done for, essentially. Like, there's still an ember, but it's not the same.
Yeah, he's never going to be like, All Might at his peak, it seems.
Yeah.
All Might observes, like, hey, they've grown up. They're both very different now. I do like the small detail that, like, Bakugo's parents have kind of, like, given up and pulling him away, so they're kind of, like, quietly staying outside to give them some semblance of a private conversation.
I'd like to think after your son bursts into a room and starts spontaneously sobbing, you would be like, he might need a moment. Okay. Like, maybe we'll let him have this.
Quinn, quick, what are Bakugo's parents' names?
Bakuet and Umbaku.
Umbaku. That's so like the guy from Black Panther, but a little bit more unsure of himself.
Yeah,
Umbaku.
Baku.
And that's why we help each other out.
Yep. What are their names?
His mother's name is Mitsuki, and his father's
like the musician. Do you think they named her after the musician Mitsuki? Oh, Mitsuki is different.
What? I don't know who this musician is that you're referring to.
You're not gay enough. During Pride Month, Nick, this is absurd.
Pride Month doesn't require you to become more gay, last I checked. I could be wrong about that, no. I'm not gay.
You're going to tell me you don't know who Chapel Roan is? You don't know the dance to Hot to Go?
Definitely not. Is that a song?
Yes! HOTTOGO. Come on, Nick!
It seems just like a YMCA thing, but okay.
It's not! It's gayer!
That sounds like an accomplishment.
Yes!
Anyway, All Might has some positive words for Deku, saying like, "Hey, you were already a great hero from the very first day that I saw you diving into the fray, and now you're encouraging the world to get back up on its feet. Now you're a great hero to all of them." And he also says to Bakugo, "You made sure that I would still be around to say these things. You hear me? To my pair of great heroes, I say, thank you." And that's really sweet.
Yeah.
So they, there's still like some tears being shed, but they kind of come to terms with things a little bit. Deku and Bakugo like exchange like a tearful smile, and Deku says, "When I was little, I thought that when the big battle was won, peace would be restored to the world, just like that. However, our tale doesn't end here. It can't. Fight may be over, but until we lead the way to a bright future, we've got to go further beyond." And as he says this, we get some shots of Todoroki, who I don't know what the significance of the shells in this bin are. I completely missed the context of this.
My reading of this is like, hey, we're going to like, because I know I've heard some people try to suspect, they're like, I wonder if we're going to get like another arc, like another creed, like the story's not done yet. They have to keep, I don't think we are. Especially
the chapter's titled Epilogue.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think this is a way to remind us, like, there are storylines left to close. So I wouldn't be shocked if there are, like, small, like, multi-chapter things being like, here's Todoroki's family's fallout. Here's Uraraka and Deku, kind of, like, resolving things between them. Like, just a way to showcase this. I don't know what the shells or stones are, but it could just be, like, I don't know, here's a new resource. I don't know. It could be anything, I guess, but...
Yeah. Uraraka has survived, which is not that surprising. She's like gripping where she was, received the transfusion and stuff. And the last thing we see at the end of the chapter is Deku and some of the other 1A students returning to the UA campus, which has still not been fixed yet. And Deku's got a pretty heavily scarred face on the side that was bandaged up.
He's also got
he's got a haircut.
Fuck, what do you call it?
It's like an undercut, kind of.
Yeah, the undercut. He's got that shaved head, like half undercut kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a pretty good look. It looks so.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it for him.
So yeah, I'm not sure exactly how long this aftermath is going to last. I mean, I'm not going to make any predictions on this because, like I said previously, Horikoshi could keep on doing My Hero Academia as long as he wants to. It's just going to be a matter of like how much he wants to do at this point. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a nice chapter, though.
I like this chapter a lot. I really like that conversation between Bakugo and Deku. It's a real like, I don't know. This is one of like the more satisfying character arcs in like a shonen manga, like of like a character starting off as like an absolute dickhead, and then by the end of it, Bakugo is like actually really endearing and cool. So like, I really did enjoy getting to see a bit of his frustration of like, I thought I was going to be chasing you. Like, it's kind of bullshit. You don't have this power anymore. Not because like now I won't know, but it's just like he feels sad for him. And then, All Might gives this little thing where he's almost basically like, yeah, you guys are almost kind of like my kids. Like, I've watched you grown so much. And that, gives him so much joy because that's his fucking hero saying that to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So imagine, Nick, you come home from work tomorrow. Your childhood hero, Hulk Hogan, is standing, standing there, ready to tell you how proud he is of you, Hulkster, you little Hulkamaniac.
I feel like I'd be like, what did I do to have this man saying this? Is it something that I did, or is it just that Hulk wants attention?
They won't let me in the WWE anymore, brother. So I'm invading your house.
No, I don't know if this clocks.
Hey, this is the next best place. Everywhere else wouldn't have me.
Compared to the WWE, what did I do? Seriously, what have I done?
Well, you are blocked by Chris Jericho. That means something in this business, brother.
It does mean something.
Yeah.
Although, honestly, at this point, all you have to do to Chris Jericho is say, hey, where were you on January 6th?
I was also thinking, it's like, you gotta just gotten blocked for a January 6th joke. Who knows?
No, I got blocked by Chris Jericho before it was cool. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, you had to put a little effort in back then.
All right. Guys, let's move on to Undead Unluck, chapter number 208. Could it be?
Could it be? It is a full-page color page of a couple of the Union ladies imagining their boyfriend shirtless in a rock band, as you do. This is a perfectly healthy thing. Yeah.
And Fuko.
Yeah, for some reason she's, I think, approving it. No, she's also imagining it, but Andy is not there. So she's just like, look, in the meantime, I can think about boys as well. I can think about pretty shirtless boys.
Andy isn't here to get his whole hog out at him on a moment's notice. I'm going to think about my other teammates with their shirts off. All right?
Yeah. And Tella, for some reason, he's there too.
Yeah, also Tella.
All right.
He's playing a guitar. It's nice.
Yeah, so we open the chapter. We are in Japan. Julia is being a little fucking sightseer tourist, essentially. So she's like, ooh, what's going on here? All that sort of stuff. And we had opened on kind of the joke that Sean is despondently walking through Tokyo using his unseen power, and Fuko is behind him apologizing because she's like, look, I had to give your points to Mr. Fang. Look, the next reward will get us more seats. I promise it's not going to be that long. But Sean is just like, who cares? Why'd you even ask me here? And she's like, look, we're here to stop Karuru's tragedy.
Also, it seems like this is happening while Sean's invisible.
Yeah, he's invisible this whole time. So Fuko is trying to be like, look, we're here to stop Karuru's tragedy. But before that, I'm going to try to meet my mom, who is an idol. And Mr. Nico thinks I should go meet her. Sean pauses. He's like, your mother? And remember, his mom's gone, I believe. I just remember his dad for the flashback, so I assume his mom's dead. Yeah. And she's like, yeah, I didn't know she was going to be here either. And since Miss Guru's festival could get dangerous, I figured I'd better take a look. And anyway, I'm afraid of running into her. So if you don't mind using Unseen to basically kind of help me out. And Sean fucking immediately on a dime is just like, idols, cute, I can't wait. Can you introduce me to all the pretty girls? Oh, this is going to rock.
I like how he doesn't say, I'm going to hit on Fuko's mom. He's like, do you think your mom would introduce me to the other cute idols?
Yes, he respects. He is not being like, well, if we're going to see your cute mom, he's like, can your mom introduce me to the cute girls? So good for Sean. We go to a cafe. They go in. Fuko's like, oh, wait, I don't know. This is really difficult to, think of this. I haven't seen her in over 200 years. Activate Unseen now. Sean's like, that'd be a waste. Let's just go inside. Besides, you gotta meet them. And he has
you're a good friend, Sean.
Yeah, he has the ominous line of after all, you never know when's the last time you're gonna see them. And of course, second Fuko walks in the door, there's her mom.
Her bizarrely identical mother.
Yeah, when all the genes come from exactly one parent. So Fuko's mom, who I do not think has been named yet, but I don't know, might come up. She's just
I'm sure her name tag just says, hello, my name is Fuko's mom.
I'm like, damn. Well, I guess you saw this coming. You always knew what was going to happen. She immediately sits them down. Everyone's like, oh, wow, she's cute. This girl's my mom. And she immediately is carrying glasses over, trips, and in a way that's unnatural, beans each one of the people there with a cup of water. Not just, oh, I sprayed it and they all fell. Each one laser targets directly their fucking face.
And this is something that happens multiple times in the chapter, and it's kind of characterized as if she's doing some sort of signature martial arts move, the suddenness and absurd accuracy with which she manages to spill water on people.
Yeah. So immediately, the thing is Fuko, did you use Unluck on her? And she's like, no, I didn't. They're like, there's no way this could have happened otherwise. Her boss is who's apparently very supportive, because he's like, this always happens when you carry them all out at once. You got to do one at a time. I'm like, damn, this is a cool dude to just be like, I'm going to keep hiring you though. So Fuko's mom is apologizing. She gets a look at Fuko and she's like, wait, that face. But someone enters before she can spend too much time on it. So she turns her attention to them. And this individual, we don't really get to see their face. Fuko's mom goes to greet him. She trips and falls, fucking super backflips over herself. And this guy was ready for this. He reaches into his shirt, whips out a towel that he uses to deflect all of the water. Then he catches Fuko's mom and basically braces himself to do all of that. And Sean is reacting to this saying, oh, he must have reacted out of impulse. But Fuko has a moment where she's like, no, that reaction seemed less like impulse and more but then the trait that she was carrying thwacks the guy in the head. From here on forward, I'm calling this Fuko's dad because this is very clearly Fuko's dad. Her dad, but they don't say that explicitly in this chapter. And I think this is also someone that they don't really name super well. So we find out that this is somebody that Fuko's mom knows pretty well. Yes. Fuko.
He names her. He names her here.
Izumi?
Yes.
Izumo?
So, okay. Well, I mean, she wouldn't have the same last name probably anyway.
Okay. So, yeah, he's like, yeah, you really outdid yourself. And of course, Fuko's on's like, thanks. And they're like, nope, you shouldn't be proud of that. That was, it's a bad thing. And everyone just immediately starts commenting to like, wow, Fuko, your mom really reminds us of you. She is very reckless. And Fuko has that moment that like all kids should have where they look at something about their parents and are like, oh yeah, before my mom was my mom, they were like a human being.
Yeah,
They
who
were like
wasn't
a person.
exclusively this role in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's all into that. And, Sean's like, all right, go out and talk to her. Isn't that the reason why you're here? And Fuko's like, oh, no, I couldn't do that. That would cause a time paradox. And Sean's like, that applies to time travel, right? That's not what we're doing. So there's not any issues. So she's like, oh, okay. But in that moment, Kade is saying, oh, I know I gave you that ticket to the upcoming festival, but I don't think I can perform. You see, everyone in my band suddenly got really, really injured. Like, they're all, like, in hospital beds. So Fugo's dad is like, oh, that's terrible news, all that sort of stuff. But Fuko, in this moment, notices that her hand is starting to fade away, and it's not unseen. So she has this moment of like, wait a minute, what's happening? Oh, crap. And she goes into a flashback, remembering when she is the most adorable child in existence, like criminally fucking cute. And she's like, hey, mom and dad, when did you get married? And the entire scene, by the way, happens with the dad behind a newspaper to obscure his face. And I'm like, if it's not this guy, why are we like? I don't know. It's very, very interesting. But
the path of the conversation is interesting because Fuko says, "Where did you and dad get married, mom?" And her mom says, "Do you mean when did we start dating?" Which is kind of an indication of like, so did they just not get married? Because that's an odd correction to offer a child when they ask that.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe that's what it's trying to imply. But the dad says it was when the mom says rather, it was when I went with your dad to hear his favorite girl sing. So Fuko takes that literally and is like, so does that mean dad loved the other person over you, mom?
Well, yeah.
And Fuko's mom's like, honey, help me out here. And he's just like, I don't get why it's a secret, so I don't care. He's just like, But her justification is like, I'd be really embarrassed if my daughter saw any of the videos of me being a little idol or whatever. So whatever. And Fuko has that moment of like, wait a minute. So she storms up and she's like, I think my birth hinges on this festival. So she's like, hey, tell me more about those auditions for your backing band. Cut over to various members of Union all across the world who suddenly get like a communication. It's like, APB, this is Fuko. I understand you're all on away missions, but I have an urgent request. Anyone who can assist, please lend your help. I need to put together a band for my mom. Do it or else I'll die. I'll be erased from history. So we get this like 2-page spread of a bunch of different Union members in like, I guess what's supposed to be like musician outfits. All the girls are in like idol outfits.
They're basically the girls are an idol group and the guys are a boy band.
Yeah,
essentially.
But I was like, they're all the same boy band. Like I feel like boy band members. I guess idol groups do also wear different clothes, but in my mind, they're all trying to be like Bruce Springsteen, essentially.
Like we're all gonna be the cool bad boy of the boy band.
Every one of them's trying to be the bad boy. Even like fucking Chikara, and I'm like, nah, dog, that's not you.
You're not the cool bad boy.
You are not the bad boy. But that's the chapter.
Yeah, it's look, it's kind of shallow justification to have and then the heroes have to be a band for the story arc. I don't really care though, because I really want to see the Union band that gets put together. I thought that even just it seemed like it was clear that this was the direction it was going from the very first page of where it shows Tella and Shen and the others.
It's notable that three of the four people of the guys who are on the cover are front and center in this image. And like,
Hmm.
I can understand Rip and Billy being there. Tella is not like, you know, big shit material. So I think it is interesting his placement so forward there. Plus,
Yeah,
it would make sense.
it does that he would communicate like through instruments or something like that. But the people point out like it's kind of weird that they had this whole thing of like, oh no, this isn't like a Back to the Future time travel plot, and then she starts fading away exactly like Back to the Future. Um, but so it's kind of an odd thing because
I
it's
don't
nebulous.
understand the
It's
mechanics
like
because, like,
this is a different universe. So why does she have to be born in this universe when there's all this stuff about how like
yeah.
souls are connected and stuff? Like, why does she have to be born in this loop exactly? Uh, but I guess that they haven't said like, oh no, she'll definitely fade away. She's just kind of like guessing. So maybe we'll get an explanation later on that like maybe this entire thing was unnecessary or something like that.
Or maybe Sean
Uh,
motivated her. Like Sean was like,
maybe
"Hey, you're not talking to her. I'm going to activate my unseen on just your hand." Because they also like she notes before she's like, "Oh, I can't talk to her. It causes a time paradox." And Sean's like, "That's not how it
that's makes
works.
sense.
That
Yeah.
was a different timeline." So I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like that. Or he was
If it
just like,
turns out
"You're
that
not going to talk."
Sean did this in order to help her get connect with her mom by making her part of the backup band, it's like, hey, good on you, dude.
Yeah.
It'll be like, you're gonna give me a union seat for life.
But
But yeah, whatever, fun setup for the
yep,
next arc.
good stuff. All right, Nicholas, let's talk about Blue Box number 151. Hello.
Hello.
Nick, what's your favorite Adele song?
Uh, I don't have one.
All right, there we go.
I don't dislike her. It's just that it's not my type of music, if that makes sense.
Okay, what's your favorite Ailstorm song then?
Oh, well, if you give me that many.
You can pick any of their albums. I'm not even going to limit you to just their recent work.
Pentahook, the Rage of the Pentahook.
There you go.
Anyway, all right. So
Somewhere out there, someone listening to our podcast just went, "Nick's fucking cool."
chapter 151 is hello. So yeah, Junatsu and Taiki went to the festival, and Junatsu decided enough of all this secrecy. Held Taiki's hand in front of everybody, so now basically everyone knows. And they walk back home holding hands. But when they get to Taiki's house, he does say like, "Hey, why don't you go in first? Look, I know what you said about not wanting to keep us a secret from everyone, but I don't think that necessarily means we have to tell our families just yet about this, just because people at school know." And look, I've got, we both got stuff coming up. I've got nationals, you've got entrance exams, you've got the Winter Cup. So in case things get heated, maybe we shouldn't deal with the emotional fallout just yet. There's no, it's like, look, we have nothing to feel guilty about, but I want to take things at our own pace. So Junatsu does kind of like take this in for a second, and she says, "Well, that's quite the proactive defense." And Taiki's like, "What are you talking about?" Okay,
Yeah,
we'll do it.
He had everything ready to go.
Yep. So Junatsu says, "Okay, we'll all agree to that. But if your mom finds out, or if anyone else finds out, then we'll come clean about it, okay?" And he agrees to that. So, okay. You communicated about it.
We'll kick the drama of our parents finding out down the road a little bit longer.
That's tomorrow Taiki and Junatsu's problem to deal with. So Taiki goes for a walk while Junatsu goes inside. And then we just kind of cut to the next day or the next school day after the festival, and rumors are spreading around about them, about how they were holding hands, and oh my god, what? And some fucking weirdo says, "But Kano belongs to everyone," and immediately someone's like, "That's gross." What are you talking about? Don't talk about someone that is at your school and that you know in real life as if she's a celebrity figure. Like, fuck you. Taiki comes into the gym, and everyone's like, "All right, you have to tell us everything. What's going on? How did you do it?" She's the beautiful star of the basketball team. Everyone admires her. and she's kind and honorable and cute. The number one girl on every guy's tier list. Calm down. How did
It's
someone like you get the Chinatsu Kano?
it's very interesting because like this is not a trope that's uncommon. Like all the guys get together to do it. It's just one of those things where you see this and how like all the boys are reacting here, and then you look at something like New Sexorcist where they're like frothing at the mouth over the idea of like, you're not related to your sister. Oh my god, that's so hot. I don't know why. I just like looking at the dichotomy of it. Like two different people would have very different interpretations how like a whole student body would kind of react to this.
God. So weird comments continue for a couple of seconds until Nishida steps forward and says, "There's no mystery here. Taiki is a master of effort. Just like how he won the spot for nationals in badminton, he wins in the realm of romance as a result of his efforts." But that doesn't mean we can't be jealous. And he puts Taiki in a side headlock takeovers.
It's so sudden, but honestly, kind of adorable because he's just like, I am happy for you, though, you little jerk.
But I am going to headlock you. It's like, all right, that's an acceptable level of ragging someone, sure. And then he lets him up, and Haru comes up. He's like, "Yeah, master of effort. He's right." Chinatsu and Taiki make eye contact across the gym, and one of the weird badminton club members is like, "Captain, he just made eye contact with his girlfriend. No fair." Like, just shut up, all of you. Stop being weird. Like,
stop
what's
being
wrong with you?
So creepy about this.
Other girls are going to see you being like this, and they're going to be like, "Oh, ew. I don't want him to be like treating me like I'm some prize to be won or possessed. Like, fuck off. Just calm down."
Yeah.
Go to the bathroom for 20 minutes and then come back. Calm down. So,
like, what are they gonna do when they go to the bathroom? Is it something I can find? Is it something I can find out about in the next chapter?
Yes. Akari spots all the commotion and gets distracted by it, so she, like, in a way that doesn't really make physical sense, runs into a post, but she's like holding this bin of shuttlecocks outstretched in front of her, like she's using it to find things to not bump into. Shuttlecocks go flying. She trips in the shuttlecocks and falls down. This poor clumsy girl. Hina comes by to help her out, and she's like, "Oh yeah, everything's just turns out this way for me." And Hina's like, "That's even more worrying. If like this is just constantly happening to you." Haruto comes by and he says, like, "Yeah, she's suffering from heartbreak." And Akari's like, "I am not. Stop that. I just look up to him. I'm not in love with Taiki. No." But Hina realizes what's going on, and she grabs her by the hand and she leads her off to go and do a good senpai thing. They both sit down outside. Haruto comes to. He just includes himself in
I
this
was so
moment.
confused because at first I was like, oh, this must be Nina or one of Akari's friends. And then, like, when you got a closer shot, I was like, wait, why the fuck is he there? He really did
just includes himself.
He was just like, I'm gonna go too.
Yeah. So Akari gives this very brief recap of her history with Taiki. First, how she heard some stuff about him from her brother, and so she was like, "Oh, I was kind of curious about him after that." And then, I just look up to him as my upperclassman because he's good at badminton, and I would look up to him for that. And then I cheered for him at the tournament. He's always like super attentive. He's very approachable, and I figured it'd be okay if I got my hopes up as long as I never got a straight answer about him having a girlfriend. It's like, it's a human thing, just kind of fooling herself in order to have hope. And she's like, I'm just being selfish. She starts, being hard on herself. And she's like, no, it was just admiration. I was just happy to get to talk to someone who's really cool and really amazing at badminton. And even when I found out that he was with you, that he was with Shinasa Senpai, it was like, no, that still feels right because they're a good match. Yeah. So Hina says, you're probably right that isn't love.
It wasn't love. She doesn't
because
say it, but she's like, it's probably more of like a crush.
Yeah. Because she points out, you found out he had a girlfriend and you weren't super hurt by it. So it probably wasn't love. But if you have any doubts, I think you should avoid letting others define your feelings. If it's love, you won't get it from Taiki, but there's no need to take all the stuff that you're feeling and lock it away in a box. Saying hello to all sorts of feelings and recognizing them isn't a bad thing. If you can't identify it, then keep it close enough to greet it until you learn what it is. So this is very nice.
An astoundingly mature take for someone of her age.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is
I don't mean that to be like condescending or anything like that, but usually you're still like figuring like something you learn over time. And I think she has obviously the heartbreak of having Taiki kind of decline her, allowed her to grow, but it's just shocking to be at that age and be like, yeah, it's okay to let these feelings come and go and say hi to them and get to know them a little bit. Like it's very surprising.
Yeah, this feels like something that you would expect someone to like get from like a therapist or
or have to talk to like an older mentor character, like fucking Mrs.
Not a 1 year older mentor character.
Not like you're like, oh, Mrs. Hoppercross, the algebra teacher who knows everything about love, and we've never talked about it until now, but we're all very close to her. What do you think about this? She's like, I think if you see a feeling, you should say hello and then strangle it. Drown it underneath the bog of your emotions. Don't let it get control of you.
All right, let's never talk to Miss Hoppercross again. She's I forget that I forget she's been divorced 5 times.
Drown them!
Now she's poisoning my water.
Drown them! Just like I drowned all my husbands in that damn marsh. They never find their bodies. The crocs got to them first.
Don't tell the police I said that last part.
Or that I don't know algebra. Well, kids, if x is equal to 3, then what is x squared times y equal to? I need to know this to get my degree.
Do any of you know?
Help me out here.
The only way I can do math is if I substitute the numbers for dead husbands. Oh, God. Anyway, so Akari is dumbstruck by this advice. She's like, oh my God, you're so amazing. That makes so much sense. I was panicking over nothing. And then after that, there's kind of the thought of like, when you give a feeling a name and form, the feeling really makes its presence felt. And it's like, that is absolutely true.
Yeah.
Like, if you are feeling funny about something and then you realize fully what it is, it's like, oh, I understand what this is now and what's happening to me. And then you know how to deal with it. And not just in terms of love, but like everything. Depression, sorrow, anger, frustration, and also joy. When you have a full idea of what it is, that's when it's like, oh, this is what's happening to me. But someone calls out for Akari, is probably one of her friends, and so she says, oh, thanks for talking to me. And as she goes off, she thinks, could this really have been something like romantic love? So she goes off to try and deal with that. Hina says, so young and innocent, and Haruto's like, isn't she a year younger than you? Yeah, but still. So my boy Haruto just says, hey, listen, the feeling of me liking you just said hello to me.
He takes his fucking shot. My boy was not really involved in this conversation. He just followed them out. He added nothing to it. I don't know if he even says anything in the span of this conversation. No. And then
after he was listening.
After it's done, he's like, I think I like you.
Yeah. And so we get Hina being shocked by this, and then we cut away from there because all of a sudden it's time for nationals, for badminton nationals.
Oh my God.
So we'll deal with that later.
The whiplash, or we show up and they're fucking dating. Who knows? Like, the way this series like jumps forward in time at times is so anxiety-inducing. I'm like, no, they have so much more left to do.
Hina and Chono show up, they're wearing wedding rings, and everyone's like, when did this happen?
I'm so confused. I should have gotten an invite, right?
So that's the chapter. Really was not expecting the exact form the fallout to everything took, which was to focus so much on Akari and Hina and Haruto. But okay, sure.
I like it. I mean, I mentioned it. Like, I think Hina is really insightful and cool in this chapter. I like how it sort of starts to address the Akari element of it. And I don't know. I just think it was like a good chapter all around. I kind of like that as the series goes on, you know, we've gotten more different relationships in there. And while like our A story is still Taiki and Shinatsu, and I think the B story is Ayame and Kyo. I like that we have this kind of like more sporadic but still kind of relevant C story.
Yeah, it's nice to still see Hina getting to do stuff.
Yeah.
It's not just a matter of like, oh, she was, you know, the third prong of the love triangle, and then, you know, she didn't get Taiki, so off into the abyss she goes. And now she's still doing stuff and offering, you know, stuff to the plot, which is nice.
Yeah. All right, Nick, let's talk about Chainsaw Man, chapter 167, Super Smooch. So I guess there's going to be some kissing in this chapter.
Oh, a little bit big kissing.
A little innocent kissing. That's never hurt anybody.
So Denji was being a horn dog last chapter, gave a big speech about how he's unable to focus because he's so focused on just wanting to have sex with girls. And so Yoru was like, what if I just cut your junk off in order to solve this problem? And she was 100% serious. She has led Denji off into an alley. She picks up what looks like a straw off the ground, or a stick, and I think turns it into a knife. Because she says, I found a knife on the ground, but she's clearly picking up like a stick or something.
Yeah. And, like, how deep do you think this alley is? I'm wondering because stuff will happen in this chapter. And the entire time I was wondering, I was like, are they visible to all of their...
earshot?
Oh, they're... like... Yeah. Can anyone just sort of kind of see this?
Yeah. So she says to Denji, all right, take it out. And Denji says like, oh wait, you literally want to cut off my dick. And Yoru says like, you want to be freed from your sex drive, right? So get it out. So that's not 100% how it works, Yoru, by the way. So Denji just kind of stares at her for a second and is like, you want me to take, you want to see, you want to cut off my dick? And so Yoru's, you know, grabbing onto him and is like, come on, get out, come on. And so Denji's like, no, I've changed my mind. The knife falls to the ground. So Yoru, with her one hand, reaches into the waistband of Denji's pants and by her words appears to cup a certain part of him. And she's like, look, I've got no interest in those stupid feelings you have. I just want to fight Chainsaw Man. What if I crush your balls? Will that get you in the mood?
Knowing where this chapter goes, it's such a specific thing to phrase that.
So she is at this moment still.
What if I crushed your balls? What if I spit in your mouth? That'll probably really turn. Yeah, what if I step on you, huh? What if I use you like a footstool? That'll probably really lighten, set the mood, wouldn't it?
What if I tied your shoelaces together and called you Sally? What, would that do it? Ah, come on. So Denji starts making one of many weird faces he will pull in this chapter. And as he's
That
matching eyes
is,
with
I
Yoru,
imagine the face you would make if your genitals were being crushed by like the embodiment
a
of
dome.
war.
Yeah. But all of a sudden, in this moment, Yoru remembers something that she had been forced to forget before, which was when she kissed Denji in his and Nayuta's apartment. And Yoru just suddenly goes, "Kissed! We've kissed!" And they're looking at each other, and they kiss.
There you go. That's a
Kind of
super
hard to.
smooch. This is I guess the rest of the chapter. It's done, right?
It's kind of hard to tell who initiates it at first. They're just suddenly like, both into it, and then they both break off in surprise, and then they look at each other again, and they start kissing, and Yoru leans into it. They start doing like bad teenager kissing, just while Yoru still has her hand down Denji's pants, so is presumably still holding him, as we get multiple pages of kissing until Denji starts to pull a face. And when Yoru removes her hand, it is covered in a sticky fluid. So, yes, it would appear that she has just performed the lumberjack reach around on him. And
Oh my god.
Denji, like many inexperienced boys, reached completion at a point that he probably wasn't originally intending to. And that's just our chapter. They started spontaneously making out while a bit was grabbed and a thing happened. So, yeah, problem solved. Good job. Okay.
I mean,
Let's move.
a problem did get solved.
Yeah.
Like, Denji's like, all right, let's go find my
Let's go.
sister.
Let's go find my sister. Yeah.
There's a lot to say about this chapter. Obviously, our audience has made no effort to hide their enjoyment of this chapter. There's a lot of puns. There was a lot of like, Asa's got a big load on her hands. There's, you got to give her a hand, all these sorts of things. She did a great job, all
Good
that.
job. Yeah.
I do like that this is like this uncomfortable wrinkle that now exists in the Denji Asa Yoru triangle, because we know Asa has legitimate feelings for Denji.
Yes.
Maybe not Denji, but Chainsaw Man. But she has like legit feelings for this person. And Yoru, I've always assumed was war sexual. Like, I always kind of just assumed. But I've forgotten that the entire thing happened before, where she kissed him and Nayuta saw and basically was like, erased her memory or whatever.
Right. And she did that at the time in order to make Chainsaw Man, make Denji hers.
Yeah.
To turn Denji into a weapon. And it didn't work out, of course, because they got interrupted. So this is seeming that there is more going on than Yoru once had wanted to admit about how she felt about Denji / Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
In a way that it definitely seems to indicate she does not fully understand either. This could mean that like she and Asa are starting to become more of a singular being. Or it could mean that, she's more human than she wanted to put on to begin with. I don't know. But yeah, it's not cool, Yoru, to say you're going to do something to somebody and then not do it. You were really yanking his chainsaw there, and that's not cool. So
my boy went into this alleyway thinking he was going to get bottom surgery. Instead, he got a hand job.
Yeah.
What
it's been a weird day for Denji. He just woke up from a 2-week coma.
This has been an interesting 3 hours for this kid.
I have also seen like a lot of people just like going like over this chapter, and I do think that this is something that would not have flown in main Jump in quite the detail that it did. Obviously, like there was a freaking lesbian orgy in the original run, but there's something that is different about like, oh no, like sexuality is being performed. Check out these nude, but just barely not explicitly drawn figures doing it, compared to that semen on that girl's hand, you know.
It
So
could be anything, Nick. We don't know. Maybe Denji's like, you didn't open up my ranch, did you? Like my pocket ranch.
yeah, it's so there's gonna be some fallout from this, and I don't know what that is. Like you said, maybe someone saw them getting kind of nasty, and there's gonna be some there. But even regardless of that, there are some interesting implications
I
of it.
mean, the main fallout I think is Asa's gonna be like, what the fuck?
Yo,
He's like, you fucking started kissing the dude I'm into, and then I come to in those exact kind of words. Like, I didn't get to experience that, but I get the after effects. Like, no, this sucks. So,
yeah, okay. Well,
let's talk about Kaiju
let's
number
move
8.
on.
Significantly less semen in this chapter, though weirdly, not none.
Anyway,
well, you have to imagine it's in their bodies.
Oh, okay.
You can't see it.
I don't know what the kaiju biology is. You know, there might not be any currently.
There might not.
Kaiju number. Are we doing chapter 108?
Yep, 108. The Buddha number. Like I said last week for some other chapter, I don't remember what, but the Buddha number.
Kaiju number 9 grew a second head and is shapeshifting and has blocked the critical blow that Kafka launched to try and kill it. He deals another blow in response, and it slices off Kafka's arm. And he's like, "Oh my god!" It's like taking a hit from General Shinomiya. He does try to fight back, but another one goes off. It cuts off his leg, and this time it's like, no, that's just an attack by number 9. He's calling on both the powers of himself and Kaiju number 2 at the same time, and we get this cool visual. It's almost a 2-page spread of like both kaiju bearing down on him at once. So he manages to dodge a strike, and he does the modified barrage blast that he did before, but number 9 just says like, you just used another move that I haven't encountered, and now I've learned it. And yeah, it dealt damage, but he's like, the more that you use against it, the more that he learns from and just adapts to and gets stronger. So number 9 keeps going after Kafka, and he's like, show me more. Just show me more. It's just going to keep on mopping him up. So he tries to do another modified technique, and it does like damage to number 9's jaw. But number 9's like, oh, how thrilling. You got more. Yes. And so Kafka's like, I'm just not going to have any moves left that I can do. He's just going to absorb them all and learn them all. And Hoshina, as Otonogi is like analyzing all this, says that's not the only problem. It's been over 30 minutes since Kafka transformed, and
if
we've
he keeps
observed
this up, he's going to get stuck as a red-tailed hawk.
He won't be able to revert. He's going to become a Nothlit. That's right, Quinn. So Kafka gets determined and sets his teeth, and he's like, I've got to do this. I've just got to breach his core. I've got to one-shot it. And he goes to deliver a big punch and misses. Number 9 just flash steps around him, and he's got the second head out and multiple arms, and he says, I see you've run out of new moves. And he declares, number 6, Thunder Emperor, and deals this devastating move, which Kafka does turtle up against, but it blows apart his arms and rips apart his chest, exposing his core. And number 9 just reaches in and grabs it and says, checkmate. So everyone's like, shit, he's going to have his core destroyed. Number 9 mocks him and says, I guess this is the end. But number 8 says, no, not yet, number 9. And a part of Kafka's face reappears just in his eye and says, because I've got the ultimate childhood friend. And suddenly, number 9's arm that is grabbing his core is blown off by a sudden burst, and then he's struck by some sort of blast that knocks him away. And Mina has re-entered the battle. She says, "You've been like this since we were kids, always running off into danger on your own." And the dust clears, and it shows that she's got her gun. She is not fully shed the stuff on her legs, it looks like, but she's back in the fray. And she says, "Good thing you've got me by your side." So they're fighting side by side at last. Isn't that awesome?
Hey, it's finally happening. Part of me wishes that when the smoke cleared, she had like a gigantic fucking cannon. But I guess it's meant to be like she's dangerous with any weapon. Like she has a lot of power. But there was a moment I was like, I hope there's like this fucking 50 caliber fucking rifle that she's aiming down. Makes more sense. She's more mobile with a pistol. But this is cool. Like, I think if you're going to create the suspense of like Kafka's in a bad place, his moves are all going to be countered and learned. He is running out of options. And also there's an additional time limit we didn't really know about. Like, things are bad. I feel like the time limit's also there for an emotional moment between them at some point. But like, how do we do something to like reverse those fortunes? Mina's already there. She's going to help the fight. It's cool.
Yeah. It's good that she's not just going to be, unconscious for the rest of it, too.
That's nice. I appreciate that.
All right.
Now, speaking
Quinn.
of things I appreciate.
Oh yeah, the bond between the the male protagonist and the female lead coming in. Yeah. Let's do that. Let's keep doing that.
Let's keep that good feeling going. Let's talk about chapter 290 of Eden Zero, The Girl Who Ate Through Time, which is kind of a good title, but this is a kind of a nothing chapter. So Earth is returned to its original form. Was it? I didn't remember the time limit thing. Earth is returned. Chronophage is gone. But Shiki is gone too. When suddenly a bunch of black energy starts coming out of Rebecca's legs. And she's like, "What's happening?" And a voice says, "It's not over yet." And there's like, "Oh no, a bunch of evil ether. Ah." And this ether sort of explodes the ship. And I guess all of Rebecca's clothes. That's just how time works, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Cut to 20,000 years later. In the twist, everyone's been saying...
Everyone.
We see future Rebecca, who is comatose and hanging up there. And the robots...
And naked.
Yeah.
Because, that's also important.
And she has several plugs jammed into her butt to, I guess, help support it. Because otherwise it'd be too heavy. Her ass is too fat. It would fuck up the whole... Yeah. Understandable. So the robots are like, yeah, she's in really bad state. At least we could repair her exterior. And the only thing I could think of was that they were like, her great ass has been damaged. We must use all of our scientific fortitude to repair it. They're like, no, it's not. It's not true.
Do not restore her thigh gap would be a crime against science.
Must restore bodacious tits. Must for science. They're like, no, she's a valuable research specimen. Even after death, she is emitting an unknown ether signal. And this thing is like, what did you do to Rebecca? Oh, this is Shiki. That's right. I forgot. Right. Or Ziggy, rather.
Ziggy Shiki, yeah.
Who's like, don't worry, I'm coming to save you. We see in the future that Ziggy's like, I see after all this time you haven't changed. I don't really even remember who you are, but I'd like to see you alive. And I heard we were friends before. So he walks away. But we see that this Rebecca's like, no, Shiki, don't go. I'm, I guess, conscious of this, which is terrifying.
Is, I guess, conscious or something.
But terrifying to think. Imagine being conscious in that state for, I think, a pretty long time, but who knows. So Ziggy's ready to fly off, and she's like, no, don't leave me here alone, Shiki, please. We see all this energy start to happen, this black energy shootout. It came from the lab, and oh look, it starts to grab around the Eden's One, and the Eden's One then universe jumps, and thus all that energy gets out. Nick, this is how the chronophage got there. Every universe, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess there's always been this universal present.
Yeah, the time travel / parallel universe shenanigans in Undead Unluck were kind of confusing in this chapter, but this is like a constant thing ever since we started doing universe hopping in Eden Zero. It's especially since they got back to Universe Zero,
Yeah.
where it's just a constant thing of like, this doesn't really make sense if you consider it from the time travel or alternate universe perspective thing. But whatever.
Yeah. So the chronophage, which we know is Rebecca, is like, where am I? I can't remember. Oh, I'm hungry. Let me eat this planet. Num 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 num. Oh, so good. If I just keep eating, then I'll remember eating. Eat time. Num num. Anyway, in her current version, Rebecca's black chronophage energy has like overwhelmed her, and she's like surrounded in it, and everyone's like, oh no, she's gonna release an energy like a big bomb. She's gonna do it now, or the Big Bang. And she's gonna destroy the whole universe. And she's like, I don't need anything else as long as I have this body. And then there's like a little twinkle starshine, and the voice from the star is like, Rebecca, it was you. Sorry I didn't see it sooner. So I'm sorry. So please don't talk like that. And it's Shiki, and he's reaching his arm out, and he's like, we're friends, aren't we? And that's where the chapter ends. Because this is a good series.
God.
I don't know what to tell you. This shit's so fucking boring to me. I don't have anything to say. I don't have like a joke to dunk on it with. This is just not engaging.
It's not always a bad thing if a series is predictable.
Sure.
Because sometimes doing the obvious thing is the right call to do.
Yes.
This was just not presented in a way that was interesting. The way the twist was presented was not like, oh, wow, yeah, it is great how well that came together or anything like that. And the way that they deal with the realization of, it was like, oh, it's you. Well, we're friends, though. Just Shiki just reacts the same way to everything.
And I'm
this
sure,
is... Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm sure we will find out where or what happened to Shiki, but it's very anticlimactic that like the cliffhanger 2 chapters ago was like, I think Shiki's dead. And then this chapter he's just like, I'm here. I just don't get it.
Oh yeah, Fairy Tail saved him. It's fine. Yeah.
Oh, God. If they're like the fairy tale, it is going to be some dumb shit like that. Oh my God.
So the whole thing that it feels like we're supposed to go through here is like, look, I feel like there is a trend, a buildup that starts to happen in this chapter where you can start to see this being much better than it ends up, where Shiki Ziggy wanted to protect and save this person, but it had been so long that he forgot even who they were, but they were still conscious of him and desperately wanted to still be connected to him and reached out and even followed him across time and universes in order to do that. And it had all this fallout. Shiki's reaction to everything and everyone's reaction to this does not carry that weight, though, because it feels like specifically he and Rebecca are supposed to have this strong a bond that all of this happened because of it. So for him to say, we're friends, aren't we? It's just like, that feels like it's underselling the way that their bond has been portrayed through that storyline and across the entire series.
This is something you have to understand. So this is originally produced in Japanese, and the term used is nakama, which really doesn't have like a direct translation. It means a lot more things than just friend. So there's a lot of emotions being conveyed here that just can't be captured by an English word. So honestly, if these were good translators, they would use the word nakama to just cover it, because it would be silly otherwise.
Look, Shiki could have said, you're my insectoid butt buddy, who or anything else.
What?
My insectoid butt buddy. That's why I said, because if he says that to every single person across the entire series, whenever he's trying to reach out to them, then says the same thing to her, then it doesn't make this feel special.
There's no importance. Also, it would be wild if, like, I'm the chronophage trapped in space, and Nick comes flying towards me. He's like, Quinn, you're my
insectoid butt buddies!
And I'm like, all the energy goes with it. Huh?
What?
What? Wait, what are we?
Oh, God. All right, let's move on. Um,
Astro Royale.
Astro Royale, Chapter 7, My True Self. Everyone has a laugh because Kuran's got a fluffy tail. Look at his fluffy tail. And he's like, oh, shut up or I'll kill you. And they're like, he's so cute, even when he's trying to be scary because his tail's wagging around and stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So,
It's absolutely hysterical. This character has a
oh, man.
tail.
So the fight, the throwdown's done. So Karan kind of takes people to the side and is like, okay, yeah, so thanks to Ko, I remembered my true self. I wished to smile again, but I got a transformation power instead. Taking on Botan's role was too much pressure, so deep down I was probably wishing for things to change. So Ibaro's like, well, you should come to our headquarters then. Forget about all this stuff. Feels like you haven't been paying attention for the last couple of chapters about why this is all important.
I haven't been listening to the dialogue, so if you could just come on over, we could hang out. Because I
Is he Sylvester Stallone? Is this something that was established?
I don't know. It's just I was just thinking what voice he'd have.
It does seem like that. So Karan says, like, look, I don't have a problem with joining you, but I've got the Sanman Ropi here, I've got Klebasura here, and they're important. I can't just leave them. Yes. Like, why do you need that explained again, Ibar? Like, but the members of the Sanman Ropi who watched the throwdown are like, hey, you don't have to worry about us no more. You've been taking on all this pressure on your own, so go on, get out of here.
Get out of here. Forget about it. Yeah, that's the energy of these guys.
Yeah, so then Toneri is like, yeah, not Toneri, I forgot his name. So he's like, look, Ko was probably struggling too, because he wanted to destroy the world that had treated him like crap. The Sanman Ropi just saw you as Botan's little brother. They never really saw him as a person. And Sanman Ropi are like, oh yeah, I guess that's true. So he says, like, yeah, you guys pigeonholed him after Botan's death, and that's what he wanted to destroy. Ko wanted you all to see who he really was. The guy who betrayed us and beat us all up and stuff. He was just
He's
acting
actually
out.
a good guy.
He's actually a good guy. So, yeah, so Ibaro's like, oh, they were like Botan's dreams. He wanted to get rid of him, and that's why he got that Astro. So maybe if we face his Astro properly, we'll be able to see Ko's true self. Isn't that why you fought him? Whatever. So Ko wakes up and he's like, hey, Karan, you should just admit Ikebukuro ain't yours anymore. It belongs to me. And Hibaru, who is incapable of reading subtext, goes, but I won the throwdown. You suck. And Ko's like, I don't need you to tell me what to do. As long as I got these arms, I'm not handing over anything to you or to anyone else. So he, like, very meanly grabs Karan under the chin and is like, I'm done with you.
Some say erotically, Nick.
It can be both. He says, don't let me ever see your ugly mug ever again. So they're all like, oh, he hasn't changed at all. It's like, you read between the lines, guys.
No,
read between the lines.
No, you don't understand, Nick. These guys never read One Piece, so they don't know. They don't know where this is going.
This is the most One Piece chapter I've read in several years, including One Piece. Like,
I mean, this is just straight up how Sanji is convinced to leave the Baratie.
So Ko then says to Yubaro, look, I can't freaking stand you, but I'll do my part, and I'll work for you and protect Ikebukuro, so you take care of Karan for me. So Karan gets set to go. The Samaropi all bow to him and thank him, and then Karan, walks off, and they're like, are you sure you just want to leave without saying anything? He's just kind of like keeping a stern face, and Karan thinks to himself how he came to the boss of the family, asking like, hey, can you help me make some money because I want to buy a big club in Ikebukuro and start a security squad, the way that all teenagers do. And he's like, I had to abandon my feelings or else I couldn't get through it. But then as he's leaving the club, Ko shouts to him from atop a balcony and says, next time, come back with a smile on your face. And Karan uses his tail Astro to changeling himself into his younger self, who's all crying and tear-filled eyes, and he's like, Botan's death was too intense for a kid like me to handle. I forgot how to smile a long time ago. This is the most I can do. I can't express my emotions unless I transform myself to how I was back then, like this. But one day, I'll come back and have a real smile on my face. So take care of Ikebukuro for me till then. This has been Karan's Wikipedia article. Thank you for that. Or explaining his character motivation in explicit terms. So he walks off still in his kid form, crying, while all the members of the Sandman Ropey cheer him on and are crying too. And they're like, take care of Karan, Hibaru. And Hibaru says, you got it. So they ride off, and hey, Karan joined the party. So they say, all right, what should we do? What should we do now? And Hibaru says, well, there are 4 of us now, so I think I'll form my own faction. The Hibaru faction. And they're like, all right, that's lame. Chapter is over. Quinn?
Yes.
I think we may need to reconsider doing Astro Royale.
Here's the thing. I actually kind of like this chapter. It is just the Barati scene from One Piece. But the Barati scene fucking ruled. Like, I don't know what to tell you, even though it's kind of aping it. It works. I do like that there was emotion. It's just not super well executed at certain points. I like the idea that Karan has a transformation power. And he is this very stoic and emotional person. And his friends just want to see him smile. And he's like, look, I don't know how to. So all I can do is transform myself into back when I was a kid. And I still kind of felt good, essentially. If he didn't need to like outright reiterate every element of this, like, this is the most I can do. I can't express my emotions unless I transform.
But one day I will express my emotions.
I was like, this is, I think, better. I still kind of like this chapter. I think this is better. I think this little arc didn't work super well. Like, I still don't feel like I have a great idea of who Karan is. Also, just a world building note. It's such a nothing thing, but they just like note at the beginning, his link is also a lighter Botan gave him. And I'm like, fucking guys, this is the 3rd dude. We cannot be out of ideas already. Like, there's got to be like something else.
And it's also, it's not just that, it's the fact that his power and Ko's basically have nothing to do with each other. Ko got some arms because he like, I want to, rip apart the cage that I've kind of been put in by the people who care about me by putting me in this box and stuff. But Karan's is, I want to be able to change myself because I'm not happy with the way that I am. So it's a matter of like, okay, one wanted to change his circumstances and the other wanted to change himself. I get that. But what do extra arms have to do with chameleon changing powers? Like, there should be some sort of a link between those to reflect the fact that they get their powers essentially from the same source. They don't have to be the exact same,
different
but there should be more of a link between
of the
them.
same thing. Yeah, I think those would have been really good, but it is what it is. I still think this is a better chapter than the last couple, and it's decent, but I have had the same thought of you. I was like, perhaps this series was not the slam dunk hit I thought it was going to be.
I feel like the window is very close to closed on this.
Still very early. Still very early for the series.
Yeah, and you never know how people are going to react. This is chapter 7. We still don't actually have any idea how well this is being received yet. We will know fairly soon, have an early idea of that, but we don't know right now. Anyway, let's move on to Greens. Chapter 25, Teasing. I do like the opening page of just Oliver and oh gosh, I've forgotten his name. What the fuck?
Haku.
I don't know why I forgot his first name. I remembered Yasaki, but yeah, they're just in a golf cart hanging out. I was like, that's a cool looking image, though.
Yeah.
They finish up their 9 holes of golf that they played together, and Oliver managed to get 6 birdies within them because he's kind of absurdly broken. And Haku's like, hey, how about like we have a rematch next week? And Oliver's like, so I'm going back to the States in 2 days. And Haku just kind of has a moment where he's like, please don't go. That's very straightforward with it. And Oliver's like, look, I've got a match I got to get to next week. I need to, fly out there and everything. So Haku just says, oh, aw. So
His little buddy's leaving. Nick, his insectoid butt buddy.
he's Insectoid butt, buddy, no! So Kenta Terasaka finally got the memo that if you're going to do a sports series, you need to have hot boys, and they go to a men's public bath together. And just kind of hang out in the bath for a little while. And while Haku reflects on, like, yeah, I guess it makes sense. Like, Oliver's got, stuff that he's got to do for his golf career. So he asks him, hey, when do you think you're going to, like, come back to Japan? He's going to be like the end of the year. We should go golfing again then. And Oliver says, I mean, I don't know. I can go pro once I'm 18. So I'm going to be busy until then. It might be a while before I can come back. And Haku says, well, I thought that, if I could compete against you, that could like help me set goals and stuff. And Oliver says, all right, well, come to my half of the world. And then he gets out of the bath and is like, yeah, here's some steamy shot. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like one moment of beefcake. You're like, all right.
Those legs don't seem to match his torso. But anyway. So,
yeah, for a golfer, this guy does a lot of squats.
Later on, they meet up, and Oliver says, "Oh, by the way, yeah, your reward. I actually came by to give that to you. It's all my old clubs. I've got literally hundreds of them in storage. You can take whichever ones you like." And Haku says, "Like, but they must be so expensive." And Oliver's like, "I don't care. I mean, I'm not using them. They're going to waste right now. So go ahead." And Haku's like, could I get them today? No. So instead he gives him, a key to where he's got them stored. And he's like, yeah, come and get them whenever you want. And Haku's like, but I don't know where you live. I'm not storing them at home. They're back in the States. Come and get them sometime.
Aw, I love that.
That's really cool. So Oliver says, like, I'm going to go home. So we meet again. And he gives this kind of very sort of mocking bow, like, yeah, I'm so cool. As he goes on.
I'm hot shit and I know it.
Yeah. So as he leaves, Haku shouts after him, I swear I'm gonna come get them. And Oliver waves back in response and says, become a great golfer. Aw, for buddies. Isn't that nice? Later on at work, Haku is on a shift with Oga, and he's looking at the key Oliver gave him. And when Oga's like, "What the hell is that?" He explains things to her, and Oga says, "Well, that's if you're supposed to go to America, then that's not something you can just do right away." And Haku says, "I'll keep it with me as a good luck charm until then." Yeah, okay. Oga says, I mean, it might be about time you got your own clubs, because if you have, good clubs for you, then they can really improve your game. And she says, I'm going to go to a golf shop next week. Would you like to come? And Haku says, yes, I can carry your stuff. Good for you.
What a reliable friend.
Mm-hmm. One of the members of the golf range staff that I haven't memorized the name of yet, because he hasn't really done anything, walks by and is like, hey, golf clubs are kind of expensive, Yasaki. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm not sure if I'm gonna buy anything, but I guess I do have like 100,000 yen saved up right now. He's like, Jesus Christ,
that's a lot to have saved, buddy. Good job.
That's $1,000 when you're a teenager is a fortune. So Oga suggests they do a swing check so that, she can figure out what kind of clubs would suit him. So they go up to the range, and he's like, oh man, I kind of sliced it right. That kind of happens a lot. So Oga's like, yeah, we'll keep on going. And so they do a bit more until eventually Haku's like, I popped another blister. So I need to take a break. He admits, like, I kind of went overboard yesterday and this happened. And he also says, like, yeah, he goes over like the stuff that he's been through kind of off panel with her. And he says, my feelings keep on taking hits and it's all your fault. And it was like, I didn't do anything. He's like, no, you did. Because I never used to be willing to work hard at anything. And it was like, that is true. I hated that about you. So Haku says, you say it like it is, and I just can't do it. I can't watch you play and not do my best. I look up to you. And this clearly touches Oga, because she kind of like looks away and is like, man, you're really going to say that to my face? And he's like, she says, I'm not someone worth looking up to. Aw. And Haku says, hey, you're my goal. I want to be like you. I want to always move straight toward what I want. But I can't be you. No matter how long it takes, I'll just keep doing things my way. And at my pace, I'm going to work hard so I can stand shoulder to shoulder with you. And Ogo looks up at him and she says, just a little bit. I was feeling just a little depressed, a tiny bit. But I don't have time for that. I'm going to keep on running at a speed that you can't keep up with. So if you think you can catch up with me, go ahead and try. Aw.
It's very sweet.
But that's not quite the end of the chapter. Because Oga gets up and she says, all right, time for me to get some practice swings in. And her like elbow brace is clearly in the shot. And Haku's like, no, you idiot. And she's like, I'm just kidding. And Haku's like, oh, God, okay. And I didn't even know you could joke around. And Oga says, only with you.
Aww.
And he says, huh? And she's looking at him and like really firmly biting her lip. Like
she has an interesting expression.
Yeah. So, look, whenever in a shonen series there's a guy and a girl who spend a lot of time around each other, it's kind of an instinct to go like, all right, are they going to get together? Is there going to be any sort of romantic interest between them? That has not been explicitly said. And if you say that there is just from reading into this, it's a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
But this seems like the first sign of like, maybe there could be. But regardless of that, if that is the direction things are going, there is such a great foundation for the relationship between these two that I don't really mind it, because it's like the series didn't start off with Haku going, oh man, Oga's so great, I would love to prove myself and go out with her or anything like that. It's primarily like they are comrades and friends first.
Yeah.
And I think this is at least her admitting, in a way, they're friends now.
I think so. I think it is hard to discuss this chapter without discussing the recent rumor news that Greens is on getting axed very, very soon. Like,
yeah.
I think some people have said next chapter might be the last one. So it's tough because this chapter does feel like it wraps things up. It ends Haku and Oliver's relationship and gives them this motivation. Honestly, I kind of wish he had throughout the whole series a little bit, like get to America and get my clubs or whatever. I don't know. It's very come to the Grand Line and give me my hat, Luffy kind of energy. But as we mentioned before, it's decent shit to like ape One Piece. But there's good stuff there, and then this end of the chapter is kind of like giving a little bit more of an addressing to the Haku Oga relationship, however that might be. But the idea that it'll end in one chapter is very heartbreaking to me.
Yeah, if that is true.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll find out soon, I guess. It does feel as if we are inevitably going towards its conclusion, which is a shame because Greens has been incredibly good during its entire run. It just seems like it has just not really found a wide audience. I feel like everyone who has said that they have read it has said that they like it.
Yeah.
It's just that sometimes you don't have enough of those cases of people, like sticking with something that's a little different.
Yeah. It's a shame, but we know that this mangaka can create really good stuff.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get something else.
Yeah.
We would talk about Marriage Toxin here. However, Marriage Toxin this week is just a special chapter where it's just like, here's a bunch of stuff about Beppu and then a really, really cool color page. So if you haven't checked that out, I would highly recommend doing that. But it is just a color spread and some Beppu stuff who kind of isn't cool. So
I like how Beppu is not even reading the book. He's just posing while the other two are clearly actually reading.
Oh, no. I did just get a link from Ninja that Green Green Greens is ending next week.
That sucks. What can you do?
I enjoyed all the time we got with it. So, let's talk about New Exorcist.
New Exorcist.
We're talking about a series that needs to die.
Sometimes really good series don't find their audience, and sometimes really stupid series do. So here we go.
Sometimes idiots get to vote.
Sometimes New Exorcist chapter 52, Respect. So, Suo and Gakuro are squaring off with a level 4 spirit, and Suo immediately recognizes a sigil on the guy's chest, and she says, "I know that mark very well. It was in my dream this morning. Even when I'm racing against the clock, it's branded into my brain, and it never goes away. It's the bomb mark they put on my dead fiance." What a sentence! Manga's great. It's the bomb mark they put on my dead fiance. It's gonna be like John Wick 17 or something like that. And then they put a bomb mark on my dead dog.
Oh my god!
So
yeah, I was like, come on, John Wick, haven't you learned people don't want the dog to die?
So Suo says, "Hey, do you recognize the name Haruhi Otsuki?" And the guy goes, "Oh, what?" And Suo immediately kind of is like, "Yeah, of course he doesn't remember Haru. He wouldn't know the name." And instead, level 4 goes, "Oh, you knew him?" "Yes, I remember his name. I asked him for it myself. He was an entertaining fellow. He was the first to come for me specifically, and he was pretty strong. It was the first time in decades that I showed my respect for someone. If you're a child, they might not have told you. I made sure he'd go out in grand style. I turned Haruhi Otsuki into a time bomb and sent his companions to the next world with him. It was rough. Even with the ability I'm used to, improvising a bomb of that caliber was a lot of work." And so I was like, "Why? Why would you do that?" "Why? Didn't you know that man? He treasured his companions above all else. So taking them from him was the polite thing to do. After all, he lost." Yeah, all right.
Sure.
Cool.
All right. We boiled
because I'm evil.
We boiled this guy's personality down pretty succinctly. I get it.
Yeah, I'll take it. Sure. So Suo immediately jumps in before Gakuro can shout out a warning, because a bomb ghost comes up to him, blows up, and the guy's like, "Enough talk. Have at me. Unless that's killed you already." But Suo has summoned a big old Shikigami, this giant fox-looking thing that, quote-unquote, specializes in defense, even though you don't really see exactly what it did. It kind of wrapped some tendrils or
it
tails
has
or something around Gakuro.
Fur something.
Which, can block explosions, I guess?
Sure.
Anyway, she refers to them as spurs. They attack some more of the bomb things, that the bomb ghosts that the guy has summoned, so Gakuro goes, "Oh, senpai," and Suo says, "Don't take your eyes off the enemy, Yajima. You were looking at him back there because you were worried about me. It's fine. I haven't lost my head." Okay,
cool.
So all right, it's great that we established all the emotional stakes to explain that Suo will be very level-headed and not.
Hey, maybe we're not done. Maybe she falls apart. She's like, "Wait a minute, that bomb ghost has a little crown," and just starts sobbing. She's like, "You killed my husband."
Yeah, so she's like, yeah, let's take him down together, Yajima. And Gakuro flashes back to when he was talking with Koga and who said, hey, Kazusa can rely on people, but when the going gets tough, she tends to go it alone, so don't let her push herself too hard.
There you
But she's
go,
not
Nick.
currently,
But no,
so
she's very she's being machismo. She's like burying it. Like, don't worry,
yeah,
I'm fine. But deep down, maybe she's not.
that's supposed to be the idea, but the dramatic timing of things would be to not do it in this order, is what I'm
Yes.
saying.
Oh, I agree. Yes.
Bunch of bomb ghosts come out, and Gakura goes, oh my god, are they all going to explode? And so it's like, it's fine. Thorin comes out to clear a path, and like Gakuro he's supposed to be like surfing along it, and it feels like that should look so much cooler than it does in this shot. Because like you see him kind of like
how to look cool. Like, his face has been surgically
no,
constructed to ensure he will never look cool doing anything.
because he's riding on the thorn as it morphs and extends through the ghosts, and that should look really cool. But it's not done in such a way that you can really actually take all of that in. Suo like used that as like a distraction to jet in behind the guy and attack, and he just sees it coming, puts out his hand to counter.
Okay. So to be clear, Suo is now 0-2 in. I know how I'll get this guy. I'll go really fast and strike them from behind, but then they turn around and she's like, "Ah, shit! Actually, I think I'm gonna die."
It turns out I'm not fast, I guess.
So this is what she needs to stop doing this move. This is a bad move. It's like the angle moonsault. You're like, you never hit this. I don't know why you consider it a specialty. Stop it.
Hey, one time I broke Harko Holly's arm with it. It was great.
That's an accomplishment for a different reason. But the point is, stop doing this.
Gakuro goes, Xenoblade! And slashes through the hand that's going to turn Suo into a bomb, I guess. And the guy goes, quote unquote, that power mentally. So, yep. Okay.
Well, because it's the Xenoblade, Nick.
It's the Xenoblade.
It's one of the number of abilities that Nue has.
Yeah. So he realizes, like, oh, you're Nue's contractor. And he gets, like, a look on his face. Look, I don't think that this fight is good, but I do have an appreciation for this guy just being so obviously Kenpachi from Bleach.
He is very one-dimensionally a battle-hungry weirdo freak guy.
Yeah, but you know what? Kenpachi's great. So
ape the best.
So, yeah, he's like, oh, you can use Nue's abilities. This is nothing like what they told me you'd be like. You must have done so much training. What luck! Combat with strong foes is my only reason for existing. You see, I can't show emotions as I am right now, but one day I will be able to show emotion. So, he just says what he's thinking and feeling in this moment.
Yep.
And then
I do want to address, because he goes through his fucking little speech about how they're like, watch out for Nue's contractors. But there's like some line where they're like, Nue has 4 hollow weapons. She also has an important power of Xenoblade. And I just feel like, I'm sure it was mentioned before, but I feel like they just keep redefining exactly what limits Nue has. So before it was like, oh, she has like thousands of powers, but we can only use so many, but she also has 4 weapons. So maybe that unlocks, I don't know. I'm just one of these things. I'm like, too many things. Nue's stop being strong.
Speaking of Nue, we get a flashback to when she was telling Gakuro, there's something you need to remember when fighting level 4s. Stop giving these explanations as these spirits show up.
This is legit so funny to me. Because, first and foremost, I thought he already released Slash Chapter. The dude looked like one thing, said a little code word, turned into something else. But I guess I forgot that fucking Arankar have like a second level that they can go for. Right. So that's what he's doing. But I love like the punch kind of thing. Cut to Nue being like, all right, Gakuro. No, if there's one thing to remember, definitely do not let them release their hollow weapons. Hard cut to hollow weapon release. Like, a good series would have had Gakuro be like, oh boy, like as the end of the chapter.
Yeah, so the guy releases his baleful crimson inferno. It's got eyes and circles and stuff. Yep, that happens. And Gargo's like, oh, what? But why is he using his trump card right here? You're supposed to underestimate me until I kill you. Oh. And so the guy is like, holds out literally a smartphone and says, I must fight opponents I've recognized with all I have. Were you aware that we're under a hospital? That's how I got in. There are over 100 humans above us, unable to get out. Their lives are in my hands, of course. And yeah, there's a bunch of ghosts floating around the patients upstairs. And he says, Yajima, medium of Nue, fight me, one-on-one. The lives of 100 innocents are at stake. Haruhi Otsuki accepted this challenge. What will you do? Okay.
Be boring.
So,
yeah. I look, I could predict that he's gonna pretend like he's going to, and Sue will get upset because this is her fight. How could you take this from me? And he's just gonna do that long enough to figure out where all the ghosts are, so he can use the Xenoblade technique that we've specifically seen him practice, so he can kill all the ghosts by cutting their, I don't know, disarm wire or some shit that they probably have, and he'll save the day, and then he'll be like, let's take him down together.
Maybe. Anyway.
It's not good, but it's not good.
There's only so much fun you can have predicting how a series is going to be bad next, so...
We've said before that, like, the series is more interesting when it's just, like, bad, shitty writing, and less when it's just a bad Bleach knockoff.
It is.
Yeah.
A block off.
Yeah. All right, Nick, let's talk about Akane-banashi, chapter, or story 112, Floundering.
Yeah, last time we got the indication that Zensho is mostly doing all this stuff because he's got a massive inferiority complex. So, but he now says at the beginning of the chapter of Maikaru, I'm the same type of Rakugoka as you, so I know what will get under your skin. And yeah, Maikaru gives delivers a punchline in his Rakugo performance, and everybody in the audience just kind of sit there, not doing any reaction. So Zensho's like, ooh, he'll continue to flounder through this act. So what now? Will you go back to singing? Will you turn meta and snap on the audience? Go for broke and start dancing? Do impressions and voice mimicry? Or will you give up on the promotion and start over from the Makura? Choose whichever method you like. I'll crush them all.
I like that he says it as though he has a way to influence things from here.
Mm-hmm.
Like
he just like jumps up on stage like, nope.
Yeah, nope. Mike Aaron's like, I'm gonna start singing. He's like, no singing, that's a rule.
Just throw stuff at him. Ah, boo!
Everybody boo this person.
Just loudly says, wow, he sucks, huh?
Stands up and then does it like he's trying to be conspicuous.
And then sits back down. Oh man, who said that? So rude.
That guy was so cool though, probably right. This guy does suck. Let's all throw tomatoes at him. Get tomatoes, everybody.
So Maikaru just kind of keeps on going through his act the exact same way though. And so Zensho's like, all right, fine. Sure. You're just going to be fixated on this method, then okay. So Maikaru keeps on going through the performance, and it reaches the point in the story where the old master has is starting to talk to people about his son and how the son is like, oh, he's going to leave the family fortune to me. No. Your master, it's the opposite. You've been carrying on, acting frivolously every day, and setting a very poor example for all the servants, so he was thinking of a punishment for you. And that's when the uncle from Shizuoka said, well, I'll take him back to Shizuoka with me. He loves fishing, so I'll put him on a boat out to sea to enjoy the waves. And so the son's like, all right, great. And then I'll flip the boat over and kill him.
I do think that's a funny joke.
Just like, oh my God. It's like, it's one thing to be like, yeah, we'll find a way to get rid of him. The guy was like, oh yeah, I just said like, yeah, it'd be better if you just fed the sharks. So I was like, oh my God, he's trying to get me killed. So we cut to backstage. Akane is observing, and She's like, his performance is not bad at all. He would normally be killing it.
Yeah.
And Kyoji is thinking, like, I have never seen this before. Ani-san can hype up any crowd. So we go back into the performance. My character was saying, like, oh my god, they're gonna kill me. What's going on? And Zensho, thinks to himself, like, oh, of course this is happening. Look, frivolity that isn't funny is just painful to watch. You might have believed in your ability to get laughs at a show, but this is the height of folly. Your problem, Maikeru Arakawa, is that you misread the audience. And so he flashed back to when Maikeru said, or Akane flashed back to when Maikeru said, I've decided to choose what they want to see, not what I want to show. And then just like, but not a single person in this building actually wants to see what you have to offer. We get a full 2-page spread of just audience members with like blank eyes, all staring unfeelingly. A lot of them with their arms crossed, and just like, yeah. So, my character keeps on going through the act. People like thinking of ways to just deal with the problematic son. The bad journalist from before was like, it was actually kind of harder to write an article when things are this bad.
Yeah, like it's like, I wish something dramatic would happen, because this is just going to be like, there was a show and it was bad.
Yeah. So Kaisei thinks like, if not for Master Zensho's interference, then this might have been a hit with the audience. So I suppose he didn't live up to Master Isho's definition of a shinichi either. And, everyone's looking kind of stern or worried. And finally Akane thinks like, it can't go like this. It can't end like this. And then Maikeru suddenly goes, what a cruel bunch of suggestions. So what are you saying? Does everyone just want me to die? And of course he's in character as the son, yes. But he's got this look on his face of being like very coy about his own situation in this moment. It's a very interesting drawing in this like full page spread we get of him. And Akemi thinks like, a Nagauta that isn't part of the story, copious silly wrinkles thrown on top, a general shallowness to the presentation. It's easy to be distracted by these tricks of the trade and not recognize the story itself. Maikeru Arakawa's story is. And the chapter ends there.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's nice to, I do like this illustration of like, he knows what's going on.
Yes.
And Zensho doesn't. So
yeah, Zensho is the idiot who thinks he knows everything and is wrong. What was the guy from iShow 21, the deer guy who was always wrong and everyone had to correct him?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's his role here.
Obishi, something like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so nice build up in this chapter leading up to the twist, which it felt like it was coming, of course, but it's really laid on very effectively, just showing like punchlines that, yes, are funny, just not landing and done to great effect. And then that look by Maikeru that like the other foot's going to drop soon.
Yeah.
Well done.
All right, Nick, let's wrap this podcast up by talking about One Piece chapter 1116, Inner Conflict. Yamato is continuing his little journey, and he's getting some dumplings from Utsuru. So there we go.
Yeah. It's nice to know that he's got friends everywhere in this country. I think that's probably a big thing that's going to be in this, is that because Yamato, of course, was imprisoned and, imprisoned by the tyrant who ruled over this land. So to see him like bonding with all these different people that we got to know in one, I was like, oh, that's nice that they all get along with him.
Everyone wants his journey to go well. Vegapunk is continuing his speech, and he says the weapons that sank the world into the sea are still around, and that the war is still going on. Or actually, I should say mostly this is people reacting to this, saying like, wait, those weapons are still around, the war is still going. We see Emu, who is looking at a portrait of Vivi. I think it's a painting. A portrait implies a photo, doesn't it? No, I guess a portrait's a style of painting.
Not necessarily.
Yeah. Anyway, he's staring at a picture of Vivi. Very creepy. Vegapunk continues. We also do get a very quick cut over to Ingram, who is just very sad that Vivi is missing.
Is it Vivi or is it Vivi's mother?
It's Vivi, but he's very, very sad about this. And that breaks my heart.
No. I meant the portrait on the wall.
Oh, it's Lily the Ancestor. That's right. Sorry. It just looks like Vivi. That's right.
Right.
So Vegapunk's little thing is, I owe you all my apologies. I need you to understand why this happened. I basically wanted to create eternal energy, basically. Enough energy to power the world. And though it is still incomplete, I've managed to reach like a practical stage. The mother flame, a fire that never goes out. I bet those mother flame people are really just furious right now. He's like, so this is great. An energy source that'll one day enrich the lives of everyone all over the world. But a piece of it was stolen. And that fault lies with me. Cut over. We see that... oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name. Stussy. Yeah, I don't know why I wanted to call her something completely different. There you go. Good job, Nick. Stussy is calling down to Edison, and she's like, hey, what's going on? Like, there's some major shaking going on. And he explains that, like, the labosphere was just cut in half and dropped into everything else. And that means that no more clouds will be able to get up to the factory. Also, one of the elders is heading your way. So run. Like, Stussy, you just have to get out of here. Stussy takes a moment. She's like, can I free Kaku? They're probably just going to get punished if they're found anyway. I won't let them go after the Straw Hats, and I'm pretty sure I know exactly what he's going to do once he's released. And Edison's like, yeah, go for it. I'm sorry. He was a friend to you, wasn't he? I'm sad that I made you betray that friendship. But he also notes, he's like, you know, knowing you had that friendship, you still went ahead and betrayed them to help us. That kind of inner conflict is a calling card of humanity, Stussy. So follow your heart and do whatever it takes to survive. And she says, I will. Cut back over to the Vegapunk speech. And he's like, about 2 weeks ago after the theft of the flame. Holy shit. I am too tired. The sky over Lelusia shone with a powerful light, and the kingdom vanished without a trace. After that is when I observed the first signs of the worldwide earthquake. And as a scientist with utmost pride in development, I can tell you this. Nothing but the mother flame could have created so much energy. There's a bunch of people now reacting to the idea that Lelusia is just gone. I forget this guy's name. I want to say it's like King Bart something, but it's not Bartholomew because that's Kuma.
Nope.
And it's not Bartolomeo because that's Bartolomeo, but it's some shit like that. And he tells Dogma to like, go find out what the fuck's happening. Elisabello? That sounds about right. I don't know why I thought there was like a Bart in there. But he's like, yeah.
Elisabardo.
The flame that I created was used to activate an ancient weapon. And he starts apologizing. He gets on his hands and knees, starts bowing. He's like, I know nothing about who might have carried it out, but my actions have led indirectly or directly to the loss of so many lives, and a fact that weighs deeply upon my souls. A bunch of people listening are like, no, it's not your fault, Vegapunk. You're like, this isn't you. We see Momonosuke listening. He's like, wait, does that mean Pluton? And Kinemon's like, shut up.
It's okay. The only person who is there to overhear is Otoko.
Yeah,
so.
And she just says a little question mark. She's like, huh?
Right.
So Vegapunk says, in the past, there were 3 ancient weapons, and Joy Boy attempted to preserve them for the future. Why would he do that? That is a very bad idea. Have we not sunk things far enough? What's up?
Otama, not Otoko. Otoko was the smiley one.
Yes. And she's like, who is the true evil one here? Who is the one fighting the good fight? The day will come when all of the answers are laid bare, and I warn you that moment will happen when we reach the very precipice of the world drowning. The void century is rife with mystery, but there are some who have learned the truth. And we cut over to Sakazuki, who is literally just erupting. Like, his lava powers are like active and he's just like smoking. He's like, are you really going to tell them fucking everything, Vegapunk? And he does. He's like, the king of the pirates crew, the Gold Rogers pirates knew, and we don't know what's up. So like, everyone's reacting to this. They're like, wait, what's going on? What does this mean? Pirates have this information. We're all in danger. But we cut over to York, who's like, wait a minute. This timeline doesn't make sense. How? You didn't know that I stole the Mother Flame. So how, like, you stopped synchronizing. You can't lie. And you were shocked when you found out it was me. So you received this information from Lulasia and then observed the data. What does that mean? Did you know about what the government is? The government's response was, and she's like, if that's the case, I've been looking at this all wrong. You wouldn't do anything as tepid as just hiding the transponder snail. So she calls the elders and she's like, I know where the transponder snail is. It's in the Iron Giant in the Fabrophage. It's under protection. And we see the robot's eyes light up. The chapter ends as Vegapunk kind of finishes his thing and he's like, the Gold Roger pirates learned all of the true story and then drifted apart without telling anyone. Why didn't they act on it? And we cut over to Raleigh, who's drinking in Shocky's bar, and he's just like, oh, come on, I'm just an old man now, and you're saying too much, Vegapunk. Us old folks should keep our secrets. Don't rob the youngins of all the fun. Right, Roger?
Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, we've known to a certain extent now that the Gold Roger pirates found out something. And then they did all scatter to the winds. So it makes sense that there's always been this kind of lingering, like, hidden knowledge that Raleigh had, and to a certain degree Crocus, but we haven't, like, visited him back and forth over and over. So yeah, does seem like we may potentially, I don't think we're going to get any answer because Vegapunk doesn't know, but I do like that it's just out there now of like, hey, Gold Rogers pirates, what the fuck was up with what you found at the end of the world?
Yeah. I like a lot of the reactions that we see by some of the people throughout this chapter. Like, as things are going on, we got to Sengoku and he's just eating a bunch of rice balls as it's happening. But I really like Sakazuki's reaction to it. It's like, oh my god, don't you fucking tell everyone everything.
You son of a bitch.
And I really like the way that York suddenly puts everything together in this without while still not telling everyone like everything that's going on. And yeah, it's crazy how so much of the focus has shifted away from, our heroes who are at the site of all this as it is happening, but they're like, it feels like part of the reason that they're going to get away is that they are not the focus at all of what the elders are doing right now.
I don't think we've seen a Straw Hat in like 4 chapters. I guess like there was like a scene of like Frankie protecting Bonnie and stuff like that, but like yeah, they have not been the focus of these like recent chapters whatsoever. And it's a pretty powerful statement of a manga to be able to do that.
Yeah, that it's like, look, we trust them enough in the fact that there is this important plot development going on that it doesn't necessarily have to directly have the main cast involved in it.
Yeah.
And it's still interesting and gripping as it's happening. It feels like this is a thing like, okay, yeah, you really do want to pay attention as this is going on. So I really appreciate that. And I like how we finally have the explanation like, oh, this is why the giant robots started moving.
Finally. I also like the scene with Stussy. I do like, it doesn't work completely because I'm still not a fan of the character, but I do like that she's like, I'm going to release Kaku because I know what he's going to do. And he's going to go save Lucci. Like, they're good buds. So I do like that there's that element of just like, this was kind of my friend, so can I please save them?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it for manga this week, guys. So, Quinn, tell me, what was your favorite chapter out of all of that stuff we covered?
Yeah, we talked about a lot of good chapters this week. I think my chapter of the week is going to be My Hero, though. I really enjoyed that scene of Bakugo, and Deku, and I loved All Might's little speech. And I also just love how it's moving us forward. There's, I don't know, it's that kind of feeling of like, oh, this series is ending, but we have stuff to still experience. I don't know, I just liked it.
Yeah. I think that I'm gonna just echo you. Like this was. It felt like things went the way that you wanted them to go after everything that these characters have been through together.
Yeah,
To find the way that there is like, it feels like this is kind of like the conclusion of that whole dynamic. Like it's basically resolved now, and Bakugo is unlike unrecognizable from how he was characterized in the beginning of the series. Like he's drawn differently, and in these moments, his eyes are bigger and more vulnerable, and he
yeah,
is more open and more willing to acknowledge that Deku is his friend, in his weird way. And I really like the way that All Might guides them here. It's one of those things where it's like, look, just because you kind of expect the mentor character who is at the edge of their life to die heroically and stuff, sometimes there's a lot of value to just keeping them around so you can have those little moments with them where they show like, hey, this is the value that they have to offer, and not just in terms of like, oh, they have like techniques and wisdom to offer, but like, just emotional support to be there, the perspective that he has.
yeah.
So it was a very effective and satisfying, as someone who's been reading the series for 10 years now.
Yeah.
My
Uh,
MVP is going to be Hina, for that unexpectedly great speech and reasoning for confronting difficult emotions that she gave. And also, I love that it's flipped around on her and she's not expecting it. That's
yeah.
also very fun.
I will agree with you. Hina, I think, is MVP. It was just very, very refreshing to see just a very mature take from her about love and feelings in general. The audience, by the way, picked Green Green Greens as their chapter of the week, and just under the wire, Bakugo from My Hero Academia won character of the week. We had some perverts voting earlier, so
Quinn was so worried it was going to be Yoru.
the audience made it like the people in our Discord made it sound like it was like a runaway landslide. So I was like, oh gosh, are all of our
Nah,
are all of our
nah.
audience horny and just want to make a bunch of hand job jokes?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, she let it slip through her fingers. All right, so everyone, that is going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap. We will have more for you back on our usual time next week, hopefully Wednesday evening, sometimes between 7:30 and 8. I'm not sorry for what I did.
You should be, but fair enough.
um, and yeah, we would like to thank everyone who helps support the show and make it what it is. Everyone who watches the show, listens to it, supports us on patreon.com/weekly manga recap, where we have bonus content for you guys to enjoy. We recently put up a bonus episode where we talked about the Spy Family Code White movie.
Yeah.
And it was nice.
Yeah, very, very good episode. Go check that out.
We also want to thank Milo Jack Stillis and Winslow Cheddar, who made an opening sequence for the video version of the show, which is up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/weekly manga recap. You can find all the video versions on there. The audio versions can be found at weeklymangarecap.podbean.com, as well as various different podcast feeds, Spotify, iTunes, that kind of thing. And in all the places that we posted, we also have a link to the Discord channel where you can participate in conversations about the series, disappoint Quinn with you with the stuff you talk about sometimes, and you can also use that to find where to make recommendations on the Google Doc, which is maintained by Ninja X3i, whom we also want to thank for helping to maintain all that stuff, keep track of a lot of things that frankly we would have forgotten about a long time ago if we didn't have that to reference and keep track of that stuff.
Very much so.
And we would also like to thank Steve Man, who occasionally does title cards for the video versions of the show. You can check out his work all across the internet by searching for Steve Man Art.
Yes.
And that's going to do it. we will be continuing to read Freerin in preparation for a discussion of that series in the hopefully near future. And in the meantime, hope you all have a good one, and we'll catch you next week.
Bye. I don't have anything funny to say.
Okay.